DA Ann Donnelly stating the numerous fabrications and inconsistencies associated with Congressman-elect Santos are nothing short of stunning. The residents of Nassau County and other parts of the 3rd District must have an honest and an accountable representative in Congress. No one is above the law, and if a crime was committed in this county, we will prosecute it.
That's right. Prosecutors in Nassau County, New York have announced that they will be looking into some of the lies that have been told by Congressman-elect George Santos, a Republican who won his congressional seat in New York, but it turns out after he won his congressional seat, reports indicated that he lied about pretty much everything. Everything from his education to his wealth to his charity. And not only are local prosecutors looking into this, there was an announcement by federal prosecutors that there will also be an investigation on their end. Now, according to ABC News reporter Aaron Katursky, federal prosecutors in Brooklyn have started looking into public filings by Congressman-elect George Santos amid questions about the source of his wealth. Sources familiar with the matter told ABC. Now, we had already shared with you guys that he had lied about the college education that he allegedly had. He claimed he went to Baruch College and NYU. He didn't do that. He claimed that he had known people who perished in the Pulse nightclub shooting. That was also a lie. He lied about his family's heritage, claiming that he was Jewish while campaigning, and then later, after getting caught in that lie, saying that he didn't mean Jewish, he meant Jew-ish, which, by the way, that's also a lie. And according to Katursky, the sources said, this is not a formal investigation, meaning what the feds are looking into, but a preliminary look at publicly available filings that show vastly different salaries from Santos's first run for office and his second. And I think it makes sense for them to investigate his sources of income, Cenk, because when you consider the fact that he spent $700,000 on his own campaign, and then you also consider the fact that he lied about his wealth. He claimed that he had 13 properties, turns out he has 0, he's living with his sister. You gotta wonder, where did that money come from? Did he get that money through some fraudulent means? We don't know yet, but I think an investigation makes sense. What do you think?
Okay, so there's a lot of super fun things here. So first of all, is he really that different than Donald Trump? I'll get back to that in a second. Second of all, yes, where did the money come from? I'm very curious about that. But first we start with hilarity. I love how this guy makes stuff up because it's so funny. He's like, his mom is actually Catholic from Brazil. And when he was making up the Jewish story, he's like, no, I think it was his grandmother. My grandmother is a Jewish. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. And she's from Belgium. Yeah, that's it. I don't know where he pulls this out, but my favorite is our last name used to be Zabrowski. Yeah, that's it. We used to be Zabrowski.
Okay, no, I gotta get to that because we have more information about additional lies he told. So the name that Cenk just mentioned is relevant because he used that name, a fake name, for his charity, which, by the way, he lied about it even being a charity. It's not a 501c organization. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Santos said his mother's family's historical Jewish name was Zabrowski, and later appeared to operate a GoFundMe campaign for a pet charity, which he falsely claimed was a 501c3 nonprofit under that alias. Now, experts found no evidence of Jewish or Ukrainian heritage in his family tree. He used the alias of Anthony Zabrowski for fundraising for this pet charity, and that was unearthed by CNN. He also told some lies related to 9/11, which I'll get to in just a moment. But Cenk, I wanted to give them that context so you can continue dunking on him. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this guy is like, I mean, at a high end, you could say Kaiser Soze, right? At a low end, Clownorama. He's probably watching like Pet Cemetery when he comes up with the idea for the pet charity. And so, like, should they investigate his finances? Of course, everything from like the fake pet charity, or as soon as you have a fake charity, boom, You got authorities must investigate. That's crazy not to investigate. The only reason not to investigate would be, well, he's now a powerful person and we just leave those guys alone, right? And so that one's a little bit complicated. I'll come back to it. But certainly you should do that. But mainly, as Anna pointed out in the beginning, are you kidding me? You got all this hundreds of thousands of dollars that you gave your own campaign. You used to run a scam in Brazil back in 2011, which authorities are still looking to find you on. And you live in your sister's basement. So you obviously don't have a lot of money as you were claiming. So where in the world did that money come from? And so it's not remotely controversial to investigate his finances. You'd be nuts not to, right? Which then leads me back to my original point, Anna, which is he really that different than Donald Trump?
Well,
fake charity. Trump had a fake charity.
Yep.
Fake university. Trump beats him on that. He said he had 13 properties. Trump claimed to have $10 billion. And I can go on and on and on. They're both pathological liars. Just the reaction to them is slightly different.
And George Santos made the grave mistake in today's political climate, which was to come out, admit guilt, and semi-apologize for it, which doesn't play well in politics. And that's a shame, because apologizing and admitting that you were wrong, I think, shows character. But in the case of Santos, he did a half measure. He's still trying to, brush off some of these lies or make excuses for them. To your point though, Cenk, about how Santos can be compared to Donald Trump, Canadian Citizen in our super chat says, Santos is going to be president at this rate. Listen, Canadian Citizen, we get to make fun of our country, okay? You back off, you got it? No, I'm just kidding. Make as much fun of it as you want. It's insane what's going on in our political climate right now.
Yeah, and by the way, the lies are incredibly similar on almost every count. He said, this guy said he was going to Baruch University and colleges he didn't go to. Donald Trump claimed to be at the top of his class, when in reality, he literally hides his transcripts and threatens to sue anyone who finds out how terrible a student he was. So just outrageous, over the top lies. Trump once even claimed to invent the word fake. Okay, so Santos has got nothing on Trump. And remember, Republican voters love being lied to. If you tell them they're superior and they're the best and everybody else sucks, they will love you forever. So Santos didn't make the mistake of lying. He made the mistake of lying in a wrong direction. If all of his lies were about how awful the others were, and then every Republican would support him. As it is, he's got a little bit of power, so most of the Republican Party is staying neutral here. But he doesn't have Trump's kind of power, so he won't get the same protection for his lies that Trump gets.
So one of the other lies I wanted to bring up was unearthed by Yashar Ali, because it looks as though he tried to make it seem as though he lost his mother to the 9/11 tragedy. So in a tweet from July of 2021, he wrote via Twitter, 9/11 claimed my mother's life, so I'm blocking so I don't ever have to read this again. He tweeted that in response to someone. But then that same year, on December 23rd, 2021, he writes, December 23rd this year marks 5 years I lost my best friend and mentor. Mom, you will live forever in my heart. Now you can do the math. Just subtract 5 years from 2021, and clearly that is not when 9/11 happened. And then further, this video should give you some more clarity on how he's clearly lying about how his family was impacted by 9/11. Let's watch.
I get emotional. My parents were both down there the day of the attacks, and fortunately none of them passed. But to see that the families of those who lost their loved ones will be recused from having a ceremony, which, like you said, is part of their support group, taken away from them, just strikes to me as a very foolish attempt of Cuomo and the left trying to erase that history.
In addition to that, Santos's campaign website states, quote, George's mother was in her office in the South Tower on September 11th, 2001, when the horrific events of that day unfolded. She survived the tragic events on September 11th, but she passed away a few years later when she lost her battle to cancer. So it's unclear whether he was trying to claim that his mother died from some of the toxicity in the air in the aftermath of 9/11. I don't know, but it's clear that he can't keep his story straight, Because he goes from, saying in one tweet, 9/11 claimed my mother's life, to now saying, my mom was there, but she survived. This guy is all over the place.
Yeah, I know what he's doing. He's throwing feces against the wall and seeing what sticks. My mom tragically passed away of cancer a few years after 9/11. A few years, it was 15 years later. And the cancer had nothing to do with 9/11. The guy, pathological. But by the way, who else told lies about 9/11? Donald Trump. Oh, I saw Muslims celebrating. I saw it with my own eyes. He went on radio right after 9/11 and bragged about how his building was now the tallest in downtown after the World Trade Center got knocked down. Now you're thinking that's the worst person in the world that brags about that. But the extra seasoning on that is it wasn't true. He was lying.
Well, to be fair to Donald Trump, I think he's made it abundantly clear to the American people that he suffers the most from size envy. All day, every day. Seems like that's all he wants to talk about. So.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.